to breath workshop number 1. And today we will go through a few types of breathing technique. And as we know, breathing is, right under our nose. In our nose. We born with it and we die with it. So it's the best and most available tool for us to use in our lifetime. So hopefully, you don't have any other injuries. As long as you live, you'll have this tool. So breath is our best friend. Let's make good friends with it. And let's get into understand our best friend. So today I'm going to talk with a few different types of breathing technique or breathing pattern. So there are 3 general breathing patterns that can help us in our daily lives. So one of them is to activate your system, like energizing, get you prepared for focus. And the other is like balancing. It's more like water you can drink any time of the day. So the balancing can bring where you are very hyper to bringing you down, or you're very, say you're very depressed for some reason, it can bring you up. So the balancing breathing is what really brings you into balance. And then the other type is kind of a relaxing way of bringing your mood, nervous system. So if you're very hyper vigilant or nervous or have anxiety, then that type of breathing pattern can bring you to relaxing state and mood very quickly. So breathing is very accessible to everyone. And I'm going to talk with you about how each of them can apply to your life. So the first thing we start, just let's practice for a few breaths. And I'm going to put on a video. So just for a short practice. So here, I don't know if you can hear it, but maybe let me send you the link so you can use that in your own browser. Wait, I'm blocked by all these. Let me copy it. And then I'm going to send it into our chat. And then once you go to that browser, just breathe and look at the video. It says breathe in, the bubble gets bigger, and breathe out, the bubble gets smaller. And then we just do a few breaths. And when I remind you, we can stop. So let's just close your eyes gently. Or, by looking at it, you don't have to close your eyes. Relax your shoulders. Now gently return to your normal breathing. And you can stop this. So I would like to ask all of you, how are you feeling with this? Just a few breaths together. It might not be together, but it's, our vibe together, right? And the rate of this breathing is slower than our normal breathing. So, Soraya, can you let us know, share how you feel?
Yes, I feel so calm, even just after, a few moments of taking awareness to my breath. I just feel overall just kind of like a calm buzzing in my body. So,
Thank you for sharing. And Federico, would you like to share something?
Hi,
Hi,
I
welcome.
feel I feel really great. Now I'm so relaxing.
Very good, very good. And anyone else want to share? Is there anything you observe your body, observe your mind that is not what you expect? So yeah, so breathing can really bring our state of mind, state of body very quickly to one that hopefully when you want to relax, your body and mind can relax. When you want to get energized or focused, then we have other techniques to get your body and mind energized. So this is how effective, quickly effective the breath can give you. Yeah, it's quite amazing. And next, I'm going to just show you a few um, science behind that. So let me try to get my, I thought I have all my, trying to share my screen again. So breathing is something like related to science, right? They're part of the breathing that affects is our muscles. So what are the muscles of our breathing system? And the organs, lungs is part of our house for the air. So the lung can increase capacity, or if you don't use the lung very much, then lung will decrease the capacity. As a matter of fact, in comparison to the lung capacity between your 20s to your 60s, by 60, on average, 30% of your lung capacity is, gone. So this is just normal people who don't do the breathing exercise. It's natural process of the lungs. And then there's the exchange of the gas, which is oxygen and carbon dioxide. So in general, public, we always say, okay, what's the oxygen level? And especially the past, I mean, the current pandemic, a lot of people care about oxygen level in your blood. This is a blood measure of the oxygen level, and there's no measure of CO2 level. But CO2 play a very, very important part in the oxygen absorption into your bloodstream. So it's like you have to have a symbiotic relationship between oxygen and carbon dioxide. It's kind of like without vitamin B12, you cannot absorb the iron into your body. It doesn't matter how much iron you take, right? And similarly, like vitamin D and vitamin K. So first, we just try to understand a little bit what the muscles of breathing. So maybe you heard of diaphragm, and it's something inside your rib cage. So basically, it's right underneath your rib cage. There is such a muscle. It can also get tense, right? Most of us don't exercise it. So just like any muscles, it can get tight, and if you exercise it, it gets more flexible, it gets more elastic, right? One other muscles in our body that we often thought about exercising is our heart, right? Our heart are comprised of muscles. They pump air, they pump blood, right? They have autonomic movement. It's automatic. But you can control by, say, running the HIIT training, the intensive training, right? The interval intensive training. So when you do that, you're exercising your heart muscle. So when we do breathing, we are exercising the muscles that related to our breathing, which one of them is diaphragm. And then there's other part of the muscle is the intercostal muscles. So those are like little muscles inside and between your rib cage, right? Think about your rib cage is like a house. So if your muscles in between the ribs are tight, your rib cage will go to be tight. But if you can make this intercostal muscles flexible, then when you want to expand, this house expand, right? When the house expands, your lung can expand. So it's like we're trying to build a bigger house for the lungs, so the lungs can get in more air, right? So this is what the muscles in our body that we are exercising through the breathing practice. So then we can take it on demand, right? If we need more air, we can expand more air, deep breath, and if we want to relax, they're just there, they serve you. But the good way is you have to maintain it. So the maintenance comes from breathing exercise. So these are just organs. And then, of course, the biggest part is your lungs, right? You have the right side of the lung, there are 3 lobes, left side, there are 2 lobes. So it's interesting. Most of us don't really think about the structure of lungs. And also, man and woman have different capacity. And it's just natural of our build physiologically. But we can exercise our lungs. So we have women deep divers. They have so much bigger lung capacity because they have trained their lungs, their muscles around their rib cage in order to take in that capacity, so they can dive deep and they have enough air to retain inside of their body. So it's all possible to increase, 15 to 5 to 15% depends on how much you exercise. So now we talk about what are the air, right? You are breathing, and this is air going into your body and coming out of your body. So we know just normal air depends on where you live. Okay? If you live in a warmer, hotter area, then your air composed slightly different from where people live in the desert. But roughly, when you inhale, we call this dry air. Okay, so about 80% of 80% of the air is nitrogen, and 20% is oxygen. And then there's a little bit of everything else. So you see the carbon dioxide, the CO2 is very little, very, very little when you get into your system, very little. But now we look at, we call it moist air, which is the exhale from your body. What comes out of your body? 74% is nitrogen, and you also breathe out a lot of oxygen as well. It's not like every oxygen goes into your system, they stay, right? So we also bring out a lot of carbon dioxide, which is the CO2. And this is also why we know plants emit O2, which we need, and we emit CO2, which plants take it in to produce the O2 because of the same what's that chemical reaction of I forgot. Can you remind me?
Photosynthesis?
Photosynthesis. Thank you, Soraya. Yeah. So this is why we always have a relationship between, all kinds of elements. It's not all good, it's not all bad, but there is a relationship between all these. Yeah. So the oxygen has a role in our body. Right? It's very essential for the cells in our body. So that's why we have this meters tethered on our fingers to measure how much oxygen during the COVID time when people get the virus, and it actually influences their physiological response. So their oxygen intake in their body, in their bloodstream, decreases dramatically. It's not because they don't have enough air, they don't have enough oxygen in their body. It's because the absorption of the oxygen into their bloodstream is blocked by the virus, right? In some reaction. So the oxygen is very, very important in our blood. It also contracts muscles, right? It repairs your muscles, the cells, and it feeds into your brain, because our brain is the biggest part of our body, consumes energy, which a lot of it is oxygen. So this is why oxygen is so important. And when we breathe in, we're taking the oxygen. But now we also have to think about, even if we take all the oxygen, can we absorb it, right? So CO2 now has a role, very important, play on how much oxygen you can absorb into your blood, absorb into your cell. So the CO2 plays an important role. So it's not just we have to eliminate CO2. Actually, in some cases, we need to retain the CO2 that you can have certain effect, right? CO2 is a vasodilation. A vasodilation just means it will dilate your vein, right? So for people who have high blood pressure, because your vein are like constricted, so when you have CO2 in your stream, blood in your body, and it actually dilates the blood vessel, the blood can go through and the blood pressure go down. So breathing exercise actually can very effectively bring blood pressure down. And this is something most people don't know about. And in the medical industry, sometimes they use that for panic attacks, right? And when people call 911 in these paramedics, what they actually first put on your face is not oxygen, it's actually CO2. So the reason is CO2 can calm your body. So there's other um, effect of it, but one of the most immediate effect when you are in the emergency, your whole body gets a little bit, not a little bit, a lot tense, right? So CO2 has this role, it calm you down, bring down your blood pressure. So that's a very effective way of using the CO2. But I'm not suggesting everyone put an oxygen CO2 mask on. But also we have CO2 detection, right? Because it can calm you down so much that you don't actually need the sensation, you don't have you don't have air hunger anymore. And this is why we consider CO2 toxic. When you have gas, right, in your body, in your house, you actually calmly sleep away. It's not because you cannot breathe, it's because your body don't need the breathe anymore. Right, so there's a danger on the scale, how much you need it, and why do you need it, right? So there's always a balance between the O2 and the CO2. They're both good, and they can be both bad. You can be drowned by, O2, and as a diver, so just a free, not free water diver, but as you put on the tank, right, go to the ocean. So the tank is not oxygen. The tank is the air, same to the dry air you are taking in on daily basis. So you're not going to just take in pure oxygen, because that's not how our system is trained to do, right? And that's why it's not just oxygen will be good, or just carbon dioxide to be good. So What I'm going to teach you today is specifically about these different types of breathing patterns can bring your mood into different state. So first one, we tested that very calm breathing in and out. It makes you very calm, right? So that is can be water breathing, bring you to a balance. So earlier when I preparing for the workshop, and I get a bit excited, I get a bit nervous. I don't know, how many people show up, and so I do it myself. I just take a few breaths. At least 5 breaths can really bring the mood to a balance. But if I'm really sluggish, I haven't really woken up yet in the morning, but I can still use that kind of breathing technique to get my body a little bit energized. So that one we call activation. It's like drinking coffee in the morning, right? I know some of you might have a habit of drinking coffee in the morning because it does get you a bit energized, right? Because it goes into your bloodstream. The caffeine has an effect. So you're feeling, oh, I'm awake. So that's a breathing technique. In yogic term, we call it breath of fire. So you basically input in your body very quickly the O2, right? And that gets you energized. And then the last type, we call it whiskey breathing. So whiskey is like, you have a shot, you're kind of relaxed. And so that's something maybe if you cannot sleep well, some of my former students actually use that for insomnia because when you cannot sleep well, basically your nervous system is not bringing into a state where you can calm down. It's not like consciously aware. People don't actually aware why they cannot sleep most of the time, right? It's the nervous system where in your body you don't see the nerves. You don't have a X-ray. Even if you have an X-ray, you might not have a deep understanding how the nervous system work. But breathing can actually affect your nervous system very quickly. So the relaxing type of breathing, when you have, say, panic attack, anxiety, those are super, super useful. And that is very easy. Just remember, if your exhale longer than the inhale, you will calm down. Let's just try this, right? Let's try coffee breathing first. It's like we energize our body. And then let's see how we bring our energetic feeling down by using the whiskey breathing. So let's just try this for an exercise. And all you can do is, nothing, just breathe and listen to my voice. So one thing I want to show you is what does it mean by the coffee breathing. So let me set back a little bit onto my mat. So hopefully you can see my belly. So if I go this way, the coffee breathing is primarily just exhale. So the inhale is not a focus. So what you will see my belly is, so squeeze belly in to push air out. And very quickly your body will have energetic flow. So the key is keep your spine straight. You can do this stand, you can do this sit down. So the key is just to keep your spine straight, the crown toward the ceiling and your tailbone toward the earth. Right? Let's just take a few practice. Just put hands on the thighs, however you want to sit, and make sure you're not bending your spine and relax your shoulders. Now we take 10 at a time, so not too much. We'll take 3 rounds and 10 for exhale, and then relax, and then another 10. So let's start is normal breathing. I'll count for you. Now start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Relax. Now count on your own. Start. Relax. Now start again. Relax. And this is only 30. Observe your body. See if you have any tingling sensation. And then just now open your eyes and see how your body feel. Does it feel like, yeah, the blood is kind of flowing. There are some sensations in your body. You become more awake. So that's the effect of coffee breathing. It's like drinking coffee. Now, your question might be, how much do I drink, right? Some people need to drink 2 cups in the morning. Some people just need half cup to get energized. So it's your learning for your own body because everyone's different. And I might only need 30 of this to wake myself up. You can even do this lay down, in the morning when you just wake up. You're like, oh my God, I don't want to wake up. Do this 30 times or even 20 times and see if you can wake up just a little more than before you do the breathing, right? So these things can be effective depending on your own body. Maybe 30 isn't enough for today, maybe 10 is enough for tomorrow. So next, let's practice this relaxing breathing. So relaxing breathing, let's take double the exhale compared to the inhale. And you can do this on the laying down, standing up, or sit. These are 3 primary poses of our body. So just choose one so that your shoulders can relax and your chest open, belly relaxed. I put my hands together on the thighs or knees. If you're cross-legged, it really doesn't matter. So let's just start and gently close your eyes. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now count it on your own. And see if you can count. Inhale for 4, exhale for 8. Make your inhale as smooth and even as possible from the beginning to the end. Maintain that double ratio on the exhale to inhale. 2 more breaths, and then bring back to your easy, normal breathing. Keep your eyes closed. Observe the relaxation state of your body. Observe the relaxation state of your mind. Now smile, gently open your eyes. So how do you feel? Would you like to share? So just unmute yourself. Hello, Esperanza.
Hello.
Hello.
I felt first with the coffee breathing more energized and a tingling sensation in my chest, and then with the whiskey breathing, I felt really relaxed and really calm, and it just took a few minutes, so it's amazing.
Yeah, that's a really good observation. Now, yeah, so this is like a tool right under our nose, available all the time. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, anyone else want to share? All right. So thank you, Esperanza. I'm going to continue to share. So let me find my other, hold on. All right. So we have already know what is the normal breathing mechanics, right? We have diaphragm, we have intercostal muscles, and accessory muscles, including your collarbone. Sometimes you see when people really inhale, they're like opening, the collarbone rise, right? So there are the normal breathing mechanics. But again, there's the mechanics that's not normal, which is manual, which when people need this forced air into the lungs, they do, right? So to press into your rib cage, so your lungs can have this close, open. And there's another part which is very forceful. It's actually another type of breath of fire. It's called a bellows effect, bellows breathing, which means you are inhale and exhale with force. So earlier we did, it's only exhale sharply, it's forced exhale. But this other part is bellows breathing is inhale, exhale at the same time as forceful, like. So this is a type of breathing the deep sea divers, they do before they prepare their body into the deep sea. The reason is with this, they actually get a lot of CO2 in their body. So their body will not have the hunger for air. So they can stay in the water longer. But again, it's kind of to trick your brain so that your brain response for hunger of air is different from your normal daily life. Another example being like the weight loss pills, right? The weight loss pills is a chemical that you get into your body what does it do is it trick your brain so that your brain doesn't feel hungry. Even your body actually doesn't have food, right? So it's a chemical reaction in your brain so that there's no hunger of air or there's no hunger of food. But physiologically, your lung is, say, empty or without the air intake, your stomach doesn't have food intake. So this is why, this control of breath is really important and very, very magical if you don't understand how it works. But once you understand, it's like amazing, right? You can use this pressing into someone's rib cage, forced to get the air. This is human assisted breathing. And some people actually use CPAP machine, the people who have sleep apnea. And you guys are very young, so some other audience students I have had, they can be old. My parents and my mom actually used the CPAP machine because her doctor told her if she has sleep apnea, because you're not breathing. So your body does not know how to breathe anymore. So there is a machine, external assistant for you to breathe. And that machine basically is a mechanics for your breathing. Therefore, it's actually really interesting where when we're young, we take all this for granted, right? But as we grow older, a lot of things start to it's mechanics. If you don't maintain it, it's gonna wear out. So therefore, it's really important for us to start giving very good maintenance to our body by having all these exercises. Just like you go out to walk, you're exercising your joints. You go to run, you're exercising your heart. And when we exercise our breathing, we are actually giving a lot of good maintenance for our organs inside. Organs that other than the heart. Heart is also part of things you can exercise through your breathing, because when your heart can beat fast when you're in anxiety, and when you have panic attack, you just really beat fast. You can't sleep, right? But when you're in depressed mood, your heart rate goes down, right? So when your blood pressure level is really low, your heartbeat goes low. So we can use the breathing not just to exercise our lungs, but also exercise our heart in some way. So now let's talk about O2 and CO2 in the blood. Right? This might be too much for you, depends on, I'm just trying to show you it's important how the CO2 and O2 work, right? When you actually CO2 in the blood, there is a greater absorption for the O2 into your bloodstream. So I will give you the link of how actually CO2 and O2 work. There's a video. It illustrates very, very clearly how the O2 gets in, and this one component in our cell called hemoglobin. It's a vehicle to have all your O2 on it. So your O2 is like passengers on the boat. This boat is called hemoglobin. So it goes into your blood, but only when there's enough O2, the boat can disembark all the passenger, which is the O2. So it's interesting that this boat is not going to release oxygen unless you have enough O2, and it's like, oh, okay, now I grant my access. So I release all this oxygen into the body. And CO2 level must be maintained for absorption. If it's not, then of course your meter on your finger will say maybe 90%. Most of us in a healthy state of body, we have between 95 to 97% of O2 in our blood. Here it is, 95 to 99. So this is where a lot of people bought during the COVID time because they want to measure whether they have enough oxygen level. My friend's mother, when she was in COVID, she actually get down to 80% of the oxygen level in the blood, which is very alarming, and they had to call ambulance. Yeah, so we can use definitely our breathing technique to help our blood have enough oxygen, and therefore the blood can get into our brain, our body, the muscles to maintain a healthy state for all of it, right? Blood is circulatory system, right? It goes to every organ of the body. So that's why it's really important to understand O2 is not all bad. And CO2 has a bit of role in how alkaline the pH level of the blood. And we know in some of the places people drink alkaline water, right? So people drink alkaline water because they know alkaline is good in some way in our body system, in our blood. But drinking alkaline, it just affects your gut, right? It doesn't, big portion doesn't affect your blood. But if you breathe, you control the CO2, it affects your blood very efficiently. And it's not $10 a bottle, which I bought several $10 a bottle alkaline water before. It's very expensive. Yeah. And the breath hunger, I talked earlier about, right? Lack of CO2 does not make you hungry for air. It just increase CO2 becomes a trigger, right? So the deep divers, they do their type of breathing technique to trick their body and brain. So when they're in the deep ocean, they can stay very long. And this is very amazing. You can train that yourself. Everyone can train it. It's not inaccessible. It's your breath, but train it very carefully. Right? Train it by baby steps. You don't want to hold the breath for too long. So that's something you can do safely at home. Don't do it in the water. Don't do it when you're driving. So the key learning of today is, we use our breath as the most accessible tool in our body. Our breath is amazing. We can get very effective in one way or the other super quickly. So just remember how powerful breathing can do for your body, right? That's the only takeaway in terms of knowledge, But now let's do some practice. So one of the practice I would like to do with you is something called breath holding. It's like a tool. Let me do this. Share my screen. So here I have a stopwatch. So what we do is we do this breath holding, just using your hand to hold your nose and just see how long you can hold. It's not really a competition. It's just a test to see what's your lung capacity. So what we do is we inhale, exhale just normally. And then the next time when you exhale, feel like exhale all out, probably 80%, not like 100%. You don't do like and then hold. We just like normal. When you finish exhale, hold it and look at the timer. So what I want you to do is use your own timer so you can do the clicking. So you know exactly how many seconds, milliseconds you get. So just go on Google to say online timer. Or if you have a stopwatch, you can also use stopwatch. Whichever makes your clicking easier, right? Because your mouse can be just there. When you click, it can start, and when you click, you can stop. And so just try to do that. Now you can reset and inhale, exhale 5 times. And once you're ready to hold, click the start. So probably most of us have stopped, and there is mine, so nearly 39 seconds. So here is something. We don't want to make such that at the end of it, we're like, oh my God. Oh. So not like feeling almost having a heart attack, right? You want to make sure you're, when you have just the edge of breath hunger, you stop. So this is your lung capacity test. And what we're doing here is just try out what's our lung capacity test, how long you can hold. Yeah. And the other way of using a test for lung capacity is using a balloon. So you just like blow the balloon as big as possible and see how big the balloon is. Then if you exercise your breathing technique, a week later, you blow the same balloon and see how big the balloon is. And you'll be amazed how much your lung capacity can change just over 1 week, 2 week, 3 weeks of practice. And generally, if you do this consistently, about 1 month, you get into maintenance mode. What do I mean by maintenance mode? You're not going to keep increase, right? Even if you exercise, for example, you run every day, and the first week you can run 1 mile. After 1 mile, you're like, oh, I'm so exhausted, I don't want to run anymore. So then the next week, you can actually run 1.5 miles without feeling I'm exhausted, right? So you are increasing. You have a measure to see your, improvement, let's say. And then over time, you basically get max out. When you max out, that's your capacity, your maximum capacity. That means then you're going into the maintenance mode. You can always do this at ease, right? When you're in the improve mode, you're like trying a little harder to push the boundary. Maybe you do, today I did 38 seconds breath holding, and tomorrow I can do the same amount of effort for 40 seconds. But at some point, my maximum holding is 1.5 minutes. I can no longer hold more. If I hold more, I'm gonna just die, right? Just really completely out of breath. So understand there will be a maintenance mode. So when you practice with the intention, maintain your health. Maintain the health of your lungs, maintain the health of your guts, maintain the health of your muscles, maintain the health of your brain, and yeah, so all together. So that's the maintenance mode. So that is what we want to learn today for these several different types of breathing techniques and how they can affect our body. So just want to open our mind, knowing how powerful you have a tool just right under your nose. So I'm open up the floor, taking questions and comments. Yeah, please.
So when's the best time to practice? Or I guess what I mean is, are there any precautions when like practicing like coffee breathing, for instance? Like, are there any times I shouldn't practice it?
Oh, it's such a good question. So now you have a tool, you know how powerful it is. Now you will learn why and what time you want to practice, right? Just like coffee, if you drink before sleep, do you want to sleep? Can you sleep, right? So this is why, by knowing each characteristics of each type of breathing technique, now what you're thinking is, oh, what time is actually bad for drinking coffee? What time is actually bad for breathing, the coffee breathing? Again, it all depends on your situation. Like, what if you want to pull an all-nighter? You have to drink coffee at midnight. So we definitely have done it. I have done that for dancing. I'm going to dancing all night. I need to drink some coffee, do some coffee breathing to get my body energized, awakened in order to pull off these activities overnight. So that's a very good question. And like for other whiskey breath, right? If you feel like, oh my God, I'm kind of like having a little bit anxiety because I will have to do a presentation to my, company, or even it really doesn't matter because sometimes people have anxiety for anything you don't know, right? So I have anxiety just right before I launching our Zoom meeting because I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna teach, you know. So I do my whiskey breathing and bring myself to balance, and then I'm good to go. So this is why they are so powerful, and I highly recommend do your test to just try out. It doesn't have to be long, over the day, especially water breathing, which is same length inhale, same length exhale, right? So depends on the rate of breathing, which is a concept, how many full cycles of breath per minute. So our normal breathing is about 15 to 18, probably 12 to 18 on average, which is a inhale, exhale, 1 minute, you count it. So your homework, go back home, use the stopwatch, count how many breaths per minute on average. So count it a few times. For example, you breathe 2 minutes, you count how many breaths you have, and then you go away, do another 2 minutes or 1 minute count, and then you average them out so you know your average breath rate, right? So when you get to your average breath rate, that means in your mechanics, there's no effort. It's at ease. There's no control. You let go, right? And now when you come to the breathing technique, for example, the coffee breath, you do like, so this is also have a rate. When we do the beginning of breath of fire, we do it slowly. We do, but when you're in a very advanced level or in the advanced state, want to bring things into the state of mood or energy quickly, you do very quickly. You can go like, so it's all related to the rate of breath, right? So that's another concept besides just the ratio of inhale, exhale. There's a rate, how many breath cycles per minute that you can also use to control your breath. So that water breathing, same length, inhale, exhale, it can actually shift into a whiskey breathing, because if your inhale and exhale is like takes 10 seconds, and then your entire minute only have 6 breaths, right? So when you have only 6 breaths, it becomes a whiskey type of breathing, which it will calm your body, calm your mood very, very quickly. So that's 2 factors, basically the 2 mathematics you can use to control your breath to get the effect, or you can achieve for your body and mind. So, all right. So thank you so much for coming today. And I will send you email about your homework, and I'll send you the recordings, and I'll remind you for next week. Thank you so much.